Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Yashoda Nandana Pratajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Pratajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Pratajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are reading again Srimad-bhagavatam, 8th canto, chapter 1, text 10. The chapter is called The Manus, Administrators of the Universe. Atmavashamidang Vishvam Yat Kinchij Jagat Yang Jagat Tena Chaktena Bhumjikta Magvida Kashasvidanam Atmavashamidang Vishvam Yat Kinchid Jagat Yang Jagat Tena Chaktena Bhumjikta Magvida Kashasvidanam It's okay, go ahead. We're ready. Atmavashamidang Vishvam Yat Kinchid Jagat Yang Jagat Tena Chaktena Bhumjikta Magvida Kashasvidanam Atmavashamidang Vishvam Yat Kinchid Jagat Yang Jagat Tena Chaktena Bhumjikta Magvida Kashasvidanam
Atmavashamidang Vishvam
Atmavashamidang Vishvam Yat Kinchid Jagat Yang Jagat Tena Chaktena Bhumjikta Magvida Kashasvidanam Atmavashamidang Vishvam Yat Kinchid Jagat Tena Chaktena Bhumjikta Magvida Kashasvidanam. What about you, Jiva? Not quite. A few years you're going to be sitting up here giving class. So listen carefully. Yeah. Word for word synonyms. Atma, the super soul. Avasham, living everywhere. Idam, this universe. Vishvam, all universes. All places. Yat, whatever. Kinchit, everything that exists. Jagatyam, in this world. Everywhere. Jagat, everything. Oh, actually, it's everything animate and inanimate. Tena, by him. Chaktena, allotted. Bhunjitaha, you may enjoy. Ma, do not. Gridaha, accept. Kashasvit, of anyone else. Dhanam, the property. Translation. Within this universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His Super-Soul feature is present everywhere, wherever there are animate or inanimate beings. Therefore, one should accept only that which is allotted to him. One should not desire to infringe upon the property of others. Repeat after me. Within this universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His Super Soul feature is present everywhere, wherever there are animate or inanimate beings. Therefore, one should accept only that which is allotted to him. One should not desire to infringe upon the property of others. The second two lines of this actually are from the same lines, the second two lines of the first verse of the Ishopanishad. Om Purnam Madaha Purnamidam Purnam Udachyate. Is that the first, or is it the other? Okay. Okay. One of the first verses of Ishopanishad. Maybe Srila will mention it here. Purport. Having described the situation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as transcendental, Swayambhuva Manu, for the instruction of the sons and grandsons in his dynasty, is now describing all the property of the universe as belonging to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Manu's instructions are not only for his own sons and grandsons, but for all of human society. The word man, or in Sanskrit, manusha, has been derived from the name Manu. For all the members of human society are descendants of the original Manu. Manu is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 1, where the Lord says, Imang vivasute yogang proktavan aham avyayam vivaswan manave praha manur ikshvakave bravit. Quote, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivaswan. And Vivaswan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshwaku. Swayambhuva Manu, end quote. Swayambhuva Manu and Vivaswata Manu have similar duties. Vivaswata Manu was born of the sun god Vivaswan, and his son was Ikshwaku, the king of the earth. Since Manu is understood to be the original father of humanity, human society should follow his instructions. Swayambhuva Manu instructs that whatever exists, not only in the spiritual world, but even within this material world, is the property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is present everywhere as the super consciousness. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verse 3, Chaitra Jang Chapi Mang Vida Sarva Kshetreshu Bharata. In every field, in other words, in every body, the Supreme Lord is existing as a super soul. The individual soul is given a body in which to live and act according to the instructions of the Supreme Person, and therefore the Supreme Person also exists within that body. We should not think that we are independent. Rather, we should understand that we are allotted a certain portion of the total. We're allotted a certain portion of the total property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This understanding will lead to perfect communism. Communists think in terms of their own nations, but the spiritual communism instructed here is not only nationwide, but universal. Nothing belongs to any nation or any individual person. Everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is the meaning of this verse. Atmavasham idam vishvam. Whatever exists within this universe is the property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The modern communistic theory and also the idea of the United Nations can be reformed, indeed, rectified, by the understanding that everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is not a creation of our intelligence. Rather, He has created us. Atmavasham idam vishvam. Ishtivasham idam sarvam. This universal communism can solve all the problems of the world. One should learn from the Vedic literature that one's body is also not the property of the individual soul, but is given to the individual soul according to his karma. Karmana daiva nektrena jantur deho papataye. The 8,400,000 different bodily forms are machines given to the individual soul. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 61. Ishwara sarva bhutanam hrideshe arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudrani mayaya. Quote, the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities, or seated as on a machine made of the material energy. End quote. Thank you. The Lord, as the Supersoul, sits in everyone's heart and observes the various desires of the individual soul. The Lord is so merciful that He gives a living entity the opportunity to enjoy varieties of desires in suitable bodies, which are nothing but machines. Yantra rudrani mayaya. These machines are manufactured by the material ingredients of the external energy, and thus the living entity enjoys or suffers according to his desires. This opportunity is given by the Supersoul. Everything belongs to the Supreme, and therefore one should not usurp another's property. We have a tendency to manufacture many things, especially nowadays we are building skyscrapers and developing other material facilities. We should know, however, that the ingredients of the skyscrapers and machines cannot be manufactured by anyone but the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The whole world is nothing but a combination of the five material elements. Teja vari vidanyata vinimaya. A skyscraper is a transformation of the earth, water, and fire. Earth and water are combined and burnt into bricks by fire. And the skyscraper is essentially a tall construction of bricks. Although the bricks may be manufactured by man, the ingredients of the bricks are not. Of course, man, as a manufacturer, may accept a salary from the Supreme. Of course, man, as a manufacturer, may accept a salary from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That makes sense. Although the bricks may be manufactured by man, the ingredients of the bricks are not. Okay. Of course, man, as a manufacturer, may accept a salary from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay. That is stated here. Tena chaktena bhumjitaha. One may construct a big skyscraper, but neither the constructor, the merchant, nor the worker can claim proprietorship. Proprietorship belongs to the person who spent for the building. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has manufactured water, earth, air, fire, and sky, and one can use these and take a salary. Tena Jaktena Bhunjitaha. However, one cannot claim proprietorship. This is perfect communism. Our tendency to construct great buildings should be used only for constructing large and valuable temples in which to install the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then our desire for construction will be fulfilled. Since all property belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything should be offered to the Lord, and we should take only prasad. Tena Jaktena Bhunjitaha. We should not fight among ourselves to take more than we need. As Narada said to Maharaj Yudhisthira, Yavad Griyeta Jatarang Tavat Swatang Hidehinam Adikang Yo Bhimanyeta Sasteno Dandam Arhati. Quote, one may claim proprietorship to as much wealth as required to maintain the body and soul together. But one who desires proprietorship over more than that must be considered a thief, and he deserves to be punished by the laws of nature. That's from the Srimad-bhagavatam 7th canto, 14th chapter, 8th verse. Of course, we need to be maintained in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya, Maituna. But since the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, has provided these necessities of life for the birds and bees, why not for mankind? There is no need for economic development. Everything is provided. Therefore, one should understand that everything belongs to Krishna, and with this idea, one may take prasad, mercy. However, if one interferes with the allotments of others, he is a thief. We should not accept more than we actually need. Therefore, if by chance we get an abundance of money, we should always consider that it belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Krishna consciousness, we are getting sufficient money, but we should never think that the money belongs to us. It belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and should be equally distributed to the workers, the devotees. No devotee should claim that any money or property belongs to him. If one thinks that any portion of property of this huge universe belongs to anyone, he is to be considered a thief and is punishable by the laws of nature. Daivi Shesha Guna Mahi Mama Maya Duratjaya. No one could surpass the vigilance of the material nature or hide his intentions from the material nature. If human society unlawfully claims that the property of the universe, either partially or wholly, belongs to mankind, all of human society will be cursed as a society of thieves and will be punished by the laws of nature. Wow, what a purport. Om Ajnana Timiranda Shakina Jana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. As a translation again. Within this universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His Supersoul feature is present everywhere, wherever there are animate and inanimate beings. Therefore, one should accept only that which is allotted to him. One should not desire to infringe upon the property of others. So Srila Prabhupada gives example of, I think it's in Shri Upanishad, that verse that I was trying to quote. He gives the example that if someone puts out some bread or some bread, throw some bread out there, or some. No, I actually give the example of rice. Somebody puts out a bag of rice out in the open. Then birds will come, and they'll each take a little bit of the rice, and then they go their way. But a person would come and would take the whole bag of rice and just take it away, you know. So the birds are taking because they are acting under the material nature, the laws of material nature. They're doing what's natural for them, instinct and like that. So they take just what they need, and but the tendency in human society is we take what we need, plus we take a whole lot more than what we may need, and that becomes problematic, especially if you really see it on the national level or the world level, because one is constantly wars. I mean, from the beginning of time, there's been wars, and usually the wars have something to do with property, property, money, access to oil, and different things like that. And one country is thinking, I want that. I have mine, but I want theirs now. I have to conquer another country, another city, another country, like that. In the old times, or maybe it still goes on, but we read about these things in the Srimad-bhagavatam. Even the demons would travel from probably lower planets, because that's the demoniac planets, and actually go to the heavenly planets and try to conquer the heavenly planets to take over, like that. This is mine. The Bhagavad Gita describes in the chapter on the divine and the demoniac natures, the demoniac nature. So much wealth do I have today, and I will get more according to my plans, like that. And I've killed my enemy, and my other enemies will be killed too. Like that. It's a demoniac mentality. So that's what Srila Prabhupada was referring to here. This mentality of greed. In fact, greed, which is the kind of the topic here, greed is what will, as soon as there's greed, then Kali comes in, personality of Kali, because the personality of Kali, the Kali Yuga personified, we say, the personality of Kali, he was given Maharaj Parikshit when he had to surrender to Maharaj Parikshit, because Maharaj Parikshit was ready to kill him for his crime against beating a cow and beating a bull, like that. So the Maharaj Parikshit was about to kill him, and so of course then Kali, knowing that he couldn't defeat Maharaj Parikshit, he's such a powerful king, so he surrendered. And he said, okay, now I'm your surrendered soul. But because I'm a surrendered soul, like all of your praja, you have to give me a place to live. Everyone else in the universe in that kingdom had a place to live. They had shelter, they had like that. So Maharaj Parikshit said, okay, you can live anywhere where there is animal slaughter, there's intoxication, there's prostitution, and there's gambling, right? You can live in any of those four places. But Kali said that Maharaj Parikshit, that's not possible. In your kingdom, these places do not exist. There is no such place in the whole world where these things exist. So then Maharaj Parikshit still had to give him a place to live, because he said he was surrendered to him. So he said, anywhere, okay, you can live anywhere where there's a hoarding of gold. Gold meaning wealth, not necessarily just gold. Now we have paper money, which is supposed to be backed up by gold, which is not necessarily actually what happens. So, because that means with this hoarding of gold, then there's greed. Hoarding means that you're not just taking what you need and living a Krishna conscious life. It means you're more and more and more and more greed. So where there's greed, then Kali is allowed to live there. And Kali's his position is that if there is any kind of sinful activity, then he will increase it. He will influence that sinful person to increase. If someone eats meat, then he'll come more into their life and make them more sinful. Right? And if someone does anything which is against the regulative principles that we follow, then Kali is allowed to go to that place. He's allowed to go to such place and live there and do his work, which will be to increase the sinful activities of where there's sin, you increase the sinful activities. Of course, this is why we, in spiritual life, this is why we follow and are required to follow these four regulative principles, right? Because as long as we are following Shishi Gauranitai, Shishi Radha, Braja Bihari, Jagannath, Balaram, Lady Subhadra, going to Shingadev, Prahlad Maharaj, Ki. Because as long as we are following these four regulative principles, Kali cannot come in. We may feel the pushing and pulling of these things around us, but Kali cannot actually come in and degrade us as long as we're following those four regulative principles. And of course, the only way to follow those four regulative principles, we've got to chant Hare Krishna. Because if we don't chant Hare Krishna, there's no, well, besides the purification of it, there's no higher taste, and there's no higher taste, then the mind that wants to enjoy will try to do something which is sinful to enjoy, like that, and then Kali can come in. So we chant for 16 rounds minimum of the Hare Krishna mantra to purify our lives, and which will also simultaneously give us a higher taste. And of course, we don't engage in those sinful activities, because those sinful activities will they'll actually make our chanting ineffective, not inattentive, ineffective, because every morning we are reciting the 10 offenses against the chanting of the holy name. One of those offenses is to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. Of course, spiritual master may give many orders, but one or two orders which are there from the beginning and never, no matter who the spiritual master is, chant those rounds and don't engage in any sinful activities. Even we were reading yesterday about Jagai and Madai. So Lord Chaitanya said, "Okay, I'll save you. By Lord Nityananda's mercy, I'm saving you, but I will not kill you. But you have to promise that you will stop all these sinful activities. You chant Hare Krishna, no more sinful activities. Both things have to be there. It's not that you chant Hare Krishna and you go out and you kill people and kill cows and everything, and to continue what they're doing. It's just chant Hare Krishna and chant Hare Krishna. Try to give Krishna consciousness to others, and then of course don't engage in sinful activities. So So this purport here, Srila Prabhupada is talking about communism, spiritual communism. Of course, someone might look at this and say, they're preaching communism we're in the United States and they're preaching communism. Somebody could try to make an argument like that. But Srila Prabhupada's point, of course, is actually communism, spiritual communism, is good. It's the imperfect communism, the one that, who was it, Karl Marx, who created this idea. The idea was, okay, everything is owned by the state. But of course, that state means there's a dictator on the top of it who says that he's in charge. So ultimately, he's thinking that I own everything because I am the state. So that's where the problem is. And then there's always competition on who's going to become the guy on the top, kill this one and take the position because I want to be in charge of everything. So that communist system doesn't really work, and it's failed. Communist countries they may still be communist, but basically the whole thing has fallen apart. It doesn't work. Same way that democracy doesn't really work either. Prabhupada calls it as demonocracy. Demonocracy. So, because even in this country, we say the money still says, so far, still says, "In God we trust." I'm pretty sure that sooner or later "In God we trust" will probably disappear from the money, because there's a lot of people that are atheists and they're going to fight like anything to say, hey, why are we putting this on our money? So many of us here don't believe in God. And what are you going to say? And you have, and in America, you have the right of the freedom of speech, right? You can speak what you want. You can believe what you want. You can be an atheist if you want. You can believe in God if you want. So, in Vedic culture, yes, you believe in God, and you may have there are different paths, but ultimately, no one was allowed to be an atheist, or at least you couldn't let anyone know that you're an atheist. Just denying the existence of God, denying the existence of the Supreme it just wasn't allowed, because that is spread, which is, well, it is spreading. We have experience of it now. But in Vedic culture, if someone was claiming and living that I absolutely don't believe there is a God, then it would ruin their lives, and it would ruin the lives of anyone else who accepted that way of thinking. So, in Vedic culture, of course, there is God. There's understanding of God. There's also understanding of demigods, like that. And all the demigod worshippers were considered. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, these people are considered less intelligent because they are going to the demigods. First of all, they're going for material things, and second of all, because they're not understanding. Those who worship the demigods are not understanding that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is supplying everything to the demigods that the demigods are giving to them. The demigods are servants of Krishna. So they are, and their duty, one of their duties as demigods, besides maintaining whatever they do in the universe, the sun or the moon or the ability to blink our eyes. There's some demigod in charge of that too. Srila Prabhupada says, imagine, we're completely controlled. so they have these abilities, but to control these different aspects of something in the universe, but they're the Krishna gave them the ability, or Krishna gave them the ability. If they have wealth, or they have some ability to give someone a benediction that you become very wealthy, or you get a good wife or a good husband, or something like that. But through these different rituals, they can give that, but their ability to give that comes from Krishna. So Lord Krishna says that such people are less intelligent. They're unintelligent because they're not going directly to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and it's worshiping the Supreme Lord. And then if they do get something from the demigods, which they do, I mean, it actually works if you can follow the process, follow the rules and regulations and rituals and so on exactly, and you get the results that you want. But that's another point. In spiritual life, compared to, in devotional service, we chant Hare Krishna, we follow the principles, we make flower garlands for the deities, do some construction for the deities, like that, and do some videography for the deities, preaching. So many things we do, and our service may not be perfect, our chanting may not be perfect, but because we're doing it in an attempt to please the Supreme Lord, then our attempt to please the Supreme Lord, we're getting spiritual benefit. Whereas in demigod worship, because it's all material activity, everything has to be perfect. I've never really studied the demigod rituals and so on for worshiping the demigods, but I do know is that you have to do it perfectly. You make some mistake, you may get a very different result than what you're looking for, because even or just like there's where is it in the Srimad-bhagavatam? There's something that led to the birth of Vritrasura, who fought with Indra, right? So Vritrasura, someone was trying to they're thinking of how to kill Lord Indra, I believe. Is that right? Trying to kill Lord Indra, but they're chanting a mantra, and one particular word in that mantra they chanted a little bit wrong, a long syllable or a short syllable, something was just a little off, has changed the meaning, and they ended up getting creating this demon that was anyway, Vritrasura. Look, you remember that history exactly? Okay. Anyway, so I don't recall exactly, but I know they chanted one word, one syllable wrong, and the result was completely opposite of what they were trying to get. So it was a material ritual, material purpose, and they made a little mistake. So same thing was in demigod worship. You make a little mistake, and your whole thing can go completely backwards, like that. So, which means that Lord Krishna, he's actually encouraging devotional service, where the ultimate benefit is certainly better than anything material, and and Krishna sees our endeavor to do something right, and we make spiritual advancement because of that endeavor. And in material activities, everything has to be perfect. Otherwise, you won't get what you want, and you might get something which is very different, very much against what you want. So Krishna's, he makes the material things very, very difficult to discourage us from wanting to do them. Just like if someone wants to, in Vedic culture, if someone wanted to eat meat, I've given this example a few times, I know, then you had to go through the whole ritual and worship goddess Kali and perform whatever the exact rituals were, I don't know. But you say to the animal you're going to kill, that you have to personally kill, that I'm going to kill you now in front of the goddess Kali, but in your next lifetime, in my next lifetime, you're going to come back and kill me in the same way. And it actually happens that way. So, whereas if they had simply been devotees or you're taking prasadam, there's no problems like that. So Lord Krishna is always, he gives opportunities on both sides, devotional service or material activities. And if you want material activities, then it's always going to be more difficult, more troublesome, and ultimately won't give the result that will satisfy one. And in devotional service, he makes everything, like you said, kevala nandakanda, or the process itself of Krishna consciousness is nice, it's joyful. Chanting is joyful. Seeing the deities is joyful. Engaging in different kinds of devotional service is joyful, right? At festival last night, bathing the deities like that is joyful. So Krishna consciousness is actually very pleasing. We may have our challenges, in practicing Krishna consciousness, but ultimately the process itself is very nice. And if we don't find something nice, now we will find it nice as we get more purified. Whereas material things, it's just so much endeavor to get a little something material. So Shubha made a lot of points here, and I know we can't talk on every one of them. And of course, Srila Prabhupada was describing here how the material body is a machine. It is. It's actually a very wonderful machine. These days, more and more there, people are building humanoid robots. They're becoming pretty sophisticated. And if you have conversations with them, they can actually have, 20 motors in the face to try to simulate the different kind of expressions that a person would have, which is all based on the human body. But anyway, they're machines nonetheless. But this body also is a machine. But it's a machine that can reproduce itself. Right? Male, female reproduction like that. It can reproduce itself. It's a machine that grows. We're this big. We become adults. So it's a machine, and it's a machine that's given to us to use in the material world while we're here to do what we want to do. But ultimately, the purposes of the machine is so that we have the facility to work and function in this world, so that we can become Krishna conscious, so we can get out of this world. That's really what it's there for. And of course, we've spent millions and billions of lifetimes, the soul going in and out of so many machines called material bodies in different species of life, trying to enjoy until we get this human form of life and get an opportunity, get an opportunity and accept the opportunity within the human form of life to become Krishna conscious. The machine is just like somebody, just like if you rent if you rent a car. You rent a car, it's a machine, and you get in there and you drive around and you do what you have to do. You go here and there, but it's a machine. And when you get out of the car just sits there. It doesn't go drive off. Well, these days I guess it could drive off because they got self-driving cars. But anyway, there's somebody else who controls that too. They programmed it into it. So it's so in the same way, this body is a machine made of material nature, which is loaned to us by Krishna, so that we can perform the functions that we need to do, so that we can become Krishna conscious. And then sometimes we have bodies, even that are just like a ghost is nothing but a subtle material bodies, mind, intelligence, false ego, and there's a soul inside that body too. The ghost can't really do anything to become Krishna conscious. That's part of the sinful reactions. They can't do anything. Actually, they can't do anything. They can try to attach themselves to somebody else to maybe try to enjoy it in some way, but it's basically it's a very unfortunate condition, and if someone can become a ghost or get a ghost form, which means a subtle body without the gross body, by misusing the material body. If you just outright kill yourself, suicide, for sure. Unless you basically get a ghost body because you were given it's like I said, like the example of the car. You're renting the car, but if you decide, I don't like this car, I'm just going to destroy it, and you go back to the rental agency and say, well, I was in a bad mood, I just wrecked the car, but now I want you to rent me another one. Not likely you're going to get one. Right? So same thing, we've got this material body which we've been given to use in the Lord's service, and if for whatever the reason, maybe we're just suffering a lot or whatever, when you decide I'm going to end it all and no more suffering, then what happens? You get a ghost body, a ghost form. And that ghost form, you can't practice Krishna on your own. You can't practice Krishna consciousness. You can't do anything. You're just existing. You still got your material desires. You still have your material anxieties. You still have so many. It's just like like you do when you have a gross body, but you have no body to enjoy or to carry out anything. So when someone's in that form, you can they can get they can only get out of that. Well, they may either wait until they have some karma. They have to wait so many years, but sometimes that's even hundreds of years before they get out of it. There's a history in the I think it's in the Padma Purana. There's a section there called the Kartik Mahatmya. I think it's in the Padma Purana, but I'm not sure. Anyway, let's tell you this history because it's related to this topic of abusing the material body and getting ghosts. So there was the history was that there was a Brahmana, and he was going early in the morning to the temple and performing some deity worship. And then it was early in the morning, so it was still dark. And he was coming, and then he finished at the temple, and he was coming back from the temple. He was carrying some Charanamrita with him because he had bathed the deities, and he was taking the Charanamrita back home with him. And then all of a sudden, he sees a ghost. Somehow or other, you can see a ghost. Sometimes you're able to see these things, because I'm not able to see them, but some are able to see. So he saw this ghost, and he got scared. I'd probably get scared too if I ran into a subtle body ghost out there somewhere. So he saw this ghost, and because he was scared, what do? You saw the ghost. Go away! And he threw the Charanamrita at the ghost. That's all he had. He threw. But that Charanamrita is pretty purifying. So because he did that, the ghost somehow or other had the ability, was given the ability, got some purification, and had the ability of responding to him, of speaking to him. And so he asked the ghost, who are you? What did you do to get in this situation? And the ghost told how he was, I don't remember exactly what he had done, but there's so many sinful activities, and ultimately killed himself. And then he was supposed to be remain as a ghost for, I think, 500 years. It was the curse. Yamaraj says, you got to do this because you killed yourself. And then he was like that. So he explained to this Brahmana what had happened, and the Brahmana was feeling like, I can't just leave you here like this and not try to do something to help you. Since he had understood what had happened. The pious person, the Brahmana. So he said, okay, what I can do to help you, I will. This is because it's Kartik Mahatmya, glorification of the Kartik month. So he said, okay, I will give you 50%, because he'd been practicing, observing Kartik month and fasting and Ekadasis and everything, strict Ekadasis for since he was a little kid. So he said, I will give you 50% of the results I have gotten in my lifetime from all this Kartik and Ekadasi austerities. And he gave it, I don't know if he, but he was willfully was giving. I'll give this to you. And immediately when he did that, the ghost took on the ghost form disappeared. I mean, the associates of Lord Vishnu came. I think he mentioned the names Nanda and Sunanda. They were two associates of Lord Vishnu. They came in their airplane, Vimana, it's called, a spiritual airplane, it's called a Vimana. So they came in that immediately, and they took this person away to the Vaikuntha. He went back to Godhead, simply by that. And then the Brahmana, of course the Brahmana is still there, but because he had done this for this person, so I guess he lived out his regular life. But in due course, that Brahmana, when he gave up his body, and he took another birth, who he took birth as? The father of Lord Ramachandra, Dasarat. So he became Dasarat. So he had Ramachandra and Bharata, and he had who were the other sons? There were four. He had like 4 incarnations in one family. They all became his sons, like that. So he got resolves like that. Anyway, we're talking about if someone has a ghost body because they've abused their their human body, then they can suffer for a long time. And the only way to get out, except for waiting for maybe hundreds of years till your karma is ended, then the only way to get out is by the blessings of some other personality who's not entangled in that way. So I guess the point of all this purports, and the purport is everything belongs to the Lord. Our body belongs to the Lord. We have to use our body in the Lord's service. And if we don't use it in the Lord's service, as many people in the world are not, then there's so much sinful reaction, and there will be heavy consequences, which is why we have wars, and we always know the problems there are in the world. So that's the result. So the idea of this, hard to do in Kali Yuga, is that the world should be under spiritual communism, understanding that Krishna is the one at the top. He's the dictator at the top. He's the one at the top, and everything is understood to belong to him, and everything is to be used in his service, and that way everything is perfect. If everyone's a devotee of Krishna and understands that Krishna owns everything and is using everything that they have in the Lord's service, then everything is perfect. So that's, at least in ISKCON, we're trying to work in that way. And in time, the movement will spread, because that's what Lord Chaitanya said, every town and village. So the movement will increase more and more and more and more it was a 10,000-year period. And we're only a few hundred years into it. So Krishna consciousness will increase a lot, and at the same time, the material nature will become very worse and worse and worse, like that. Okay, I think I'll stop speaking here, and I know there's some.
Thank you for that beautiful class once again. I just wanted to comment on one point. So I know Ramana is instructing his son, and he's explaining how everything, belongs to God, and then he gives further points and goes on from there. And I just thought it interesting how, if we really want to look at some developments that and we're talking about spiritual communism and how, this whole thing, God is the center. I mean, we can see certain aspects, and I wanted to just make a couple of very quick points. One of them is that there are 20 states that actually have an option in their license plate that says, "In God we trust." Florida is one of those states. New York is not, however. But anyway, so there is that option. It's nice that that's there, but it's not a general consensus among states. Another point is when prayer was taken out of the schools, and even when the Pledge of Allegiance, it says, "One nation under God." I mean, that was stated. I remember as a child, every morning going to school, that was the short pants. Every day we would have to pledge to the flag. And now that's not done now. I mean, in some schools it's still done, but it's not like a mandatory thing that the education systems across the board have. And there's a reaction to that. The other thing is prayer in the schools, which is also related to the allegiance to the flag. And it's interesting that they're saying one nation under God here. So the other thing is there was a case study, a case summary, and they had 5 negative developments that occurred when prayer was taken out of the schools. And one of those, I'll just mention 2 of them. One of them is the standard of education, the SAT scores. They noticed when they did this, they went down. And the second thing they developed, which was really interesting, is that it was a big increase of out of wedlock, of people not getting married. A direct result of that. These kids are just, so it's like this kind of like, you're taking God away, and there is a reaction. And we're talking about the reactions even in Kali Yuga. We can see what's going on right now. People are just denying God, and they're going towards materialism. We can just see the reaction, how topsy-turvy everything is. This is Kali Yuga. This is part of Kali Yuga. So I just wanted to throw, there's other points with that I just wanted to make. There's a reaction. If you really look at it, even materially, you can see that, you suffer. You try to remove God from any circumstance. I mean, God's in our heart.
And that's correct. And I also remember when I was in, I'm not sure what year this was. It was in, anyway, I was going, I just remember every year it was like that. And then one year, maybe my first year in high school or somewhere in there, I went there and, it was that Pledge of Allegiance and the Lord's Prayer they did was absent. And it was like, what happened? And then after a couple of days, one of the teachers explained what happened during the summer. There had been a Supreme Court case, and it was decided it was not going to be allowed. Madeline Murray O'Hare.
Yeah.
I still remember that name from back then. Her son. She was an atheist. Her son, well, I guess she was trying to be raised to be an atheist, and she absolutely could not tolerate that he was having to say this Pledge of Allegiance to the flag where it mentions God, or saying a prayer to God when he didn't believe in it, or at least she didn't believe in it. And he fought it and went to the Supreme Court, and ultimately it was taken out of the schools. I also remember when that year, as the first year that I ever even heard of drugs. Now it's a real problem, but in school you never even heard about kids using drugs. What are drugs? Aspirin maybe, or but you never heard about it. And starting that year, I started hearing it more and more and more. And it makes sense because the schools are denying. I mean, if they say there's no prayer in school, no mentioning God in school, then what it means is that the teachers, the elders, the people that the children or the students are supposed to be, learning from, they say we don't believe in God. So why are you believing in God? We don't believe in God, and we're going to teach you that it's not important. God is not important. That's the message, whether or not they spelled it out like that or not. And things got really. I saw things becoming degraded. I didn't know about the studies, but that's interesting. But they definitely got. I saw them becoming more and more degraded, starting that year after they said that.
They also meant the way kids would dress and care for themselves, their general grooming. You could see a decline. And to go to school, there was always shirts. I used to wear shirts when I was in Catholic school. But we used to wear, everyone was, you could look at pictures, schools in the past, and you can see how the kids were so nicely dressed. And then when that changed, the whole culture just kind of it was a trickling effect. And as you mentioned, drugs came in and all kinds of things happened. So yeah, this is a direct relationship to an absence of denying God.
It's almost like you're mentioning that Kali has influence and is allowed to have influence, as you mentioned. So where those things where God is taken out, and when you were saying that, it reminded me how the Christians say the devil, when they personify it, can influence you. But that's directly what you were saying, is that Kali can influence and is allowed to influence.
Yeah, he's authorized to be in those places, and he can do his job. He's there. He's going to
out of school or out of society, and Kali has influence. And as you saw it.
As a teacher educator, going to school and going back to the same schools actually to teach was way different because we would stand up for the First Regions whether you were or not. And coming back, kids had the option, of standing up or sitting down, talking to each other or whatever. And I just saw how degraded the consciousness just from my years and coming back very early on to go back and teach in the same schools that I went to school in. I'm like, yes, this is crazy. You know, kids younger than what I, just the innocence is gone. You know, because there's some kind of innocence of things that was still being kept there, but I mean, there's still graders and fifth graders that know more than, you know, teenagers about stuff and talking about it. You're not even that cute. And like, so you can see that they created a consciousness because of the consciousness of the other and everybody else. And, yeah, I got to see firsthand, and he will not go to public school. Homeschooling is going to be moved.
Yeah, I hope so. That's good.
What is that statement that Prabhupada made when he said, he was asked why he came to America? I think it was either in London or New York, and he said, I came back to teach you, to give you what you've forgotten. And he was emphasizing God, people forgetting God, and he came to just be this Krishna. And actually, we can see a big change. I mean, Krishna consciousness has changed this whole society. Maybe if we look at the progression of things since Prabhupada came, on surveys and graphs, we can see how the influence has made it better for people to, I mean, with suicide rates and so many different, you know, things you can correlate. And that was Prabhupada's message, was to bring that back. And here we are taking it out. Prabhupada came to bring it back, to not let us forget, you know, God is, Krishna is the Supreme Personality, God is in your heart, you have to, you know, like this. And how to connect, how to reestablish our original connection with Him. So that's really interesting how we see that in this verse, you know, where Swayambhuva is telling, Swayambhuva is explaining to his sons about this point, which is so important, you know. So it's really, it's a beautiful verse. It's such a beautiful, important verse. So again, thank you for sharing.
Okay, so it's getting very late. So we'll end here for today and plan on tomorrow. We'll continue with the next verse. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.